Day 59 of the Atlantic Hurricane Season, day number 77 in the Eastern Pacific. It's good to be back, by the way. Here I am after a 2 or 3 day absence. It's July the 29th and we currently have a few systems active. Currently, first of all, Tropical Storm Flossie, which is bearing down on the Hawaiian Islands. Invest 91L, which is what was Dorian once upon a time, could redevelop into a tropical storm, perhaps 50% chance on that one at the moment. And 2 invests in the Western Pacific, mainly over the Philippines, 91W and 92W in that big cluster of clouds over there towards the Philippines. 91W towards the moving over the Philippine Islands at the moment, the Visayas region, and the 92W, which is just east of the Mindanao region of the Philippines. Flossie moving towards the Hawaiian Islands, around 400 miles off the big island. And we also have Invest 91L at the moment, which is just towards the northwest of the Leeward Islands. That's currently got a 50% chance formation. More on that one shortly. We also had a system, another invest that formed, Invest 90L I believe it was, in the past 2 or 3 days, just off the coast of the northeastern United States, the mid-Atlantic coast. In the Indian Ocean, fairly quiet at the moment, as it is usually for this time of year, so no surprises here. Not too much going on in terms of any development, nothing that's likely to form over the next 2 or 3 days. So looking at the sea surface temperatures then at the moment, the coasts of Mexico, as always, are fairly warm right now, 30 degrees generally. The Gulf of Mexico, especially the western half, around 30 degrees here too. Some parts of the Cuban coast, around 30 degrees as well. The Caribbean in general, 28 degrees at least in sea surface temperatures, which is certainly more than enough for tropical cyclone development. Near the Philippines, especially towards the north and off to the east out to sea, water's remaining warm here as well, 30 degrees or more. So let's take a look at Tropical Storm Flossie, then started in the Eastern Pacific, of course, now in the Central Pacific region, and one of very few storms that are about to make landfall on the Hawaiian Islands as a tropical storm in the next 24 hours or so. Current wind 60 miles per hour, pressure is 996 millibars, current position 19.8 degrees north, 149.3 degrees west as of 2 p.m. Hawaiian Standard Time, July the 28th. The storm's expected to move through the Hawaiian Islands towards the west and then begin to continue to weaken, as it would be, to a depression and then eventually a remnant low. Tropical storm warnings in effect for most of the eastern islands: Hawaii County, Maui, Molokai, Lanai, Kapolau'i and Oahu, and tropical storm warnings in effect for Kauai and Niihau, which I don't know the correct pronunciation if I did get that wrong, but oh well. Looking at the current shear map, you can see some high shear, especially towards the northern sides of Hawaii. Currently depleting a little bit, but not completely, so shear will probably be a factor in the storm's demise, as will dry air, which is quite rampant ahead of the storm. There's no graphic for that, but it is fair that there's quite a lot of air around that, which will very likely to be the main factor to the contribution of the storm's demise. You can see currently the favourability of the current conditions, around 30 to 40% by my reckoning, over the Hawaiian Islands, and then that will quickly fade away off a cliff as it moves towards the west beyond the Hawaiian Islands, and will very quickly become a remnant low or dissipate or whatever it may do at the end. So here we have Invest 91L, currently with winds of 40 miles per hour. That's tropical storm strength, but not a tropical storm in itself, but those on the Leeward Islands in particular should be careful. Pressure's 1013 millibars, positions 20 degrees north exactly, 62.5 degrees west with a 50% chance of development. The general movement will probably be towards the west-northwest. Not much strengthening will be on the cards, at least that's what it appears to be at the moment. More on that in the model runs very shortly. And looking at the Western Pacific overview, then more on Invest 91L in a moment, but looking at the Western Pacific for now, you can see the first storm 91L moving over the Visayas region of the Philippines, and then Invest 92W forming just towards the eastern coast of Mindanao Island, which is the southernmost main island of the Philippines. You can see it there in that last frame quite well. Invest 91L at the moment moving towards the west, you can see here moving past the Leeward Islands and causing a little bit of cloud cover over those areas. A few bands moving over Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, Anguilla, and perhaps the Virgin Islands in the next few hours as well, with some more clouds forming over Puerto Rico at the moment, probably not in relation with the storm, but that may change as time goes on. Flossie's moving towards the west at the moment as well. You can see it quite clearly here on the floater imagery, moving closer towards the Hawaiian Islands, the big island there on the very left of the screen, and if it continues moving in that direction, maybe a little bit of a southern element in that as well, it could be a landfall over on the big island of Hawaii at the moment. Looking at the computer models then, the CMC predicts 2 new storms in the Eastern Pacific, one stronger than the other, but that remains to be seen. As for Dorian, or what's left of it, probably weakening moving through Cuba as a remnant low, and then eventually into the Gulf of Mexico. The ECMWF model predicts a bit of a system in the Eastern Pacific, though not too much of a system. Probably tropical storm strength at best. As for the Atlantic, things remaining very quiet here. No sign of Dorian at all. I would assume it would dissipate into Cuba or the Bahamas or wherever it decides to go. The GFS model has a new system forming in the Eastern Pacific as well, probably becoming a strong tropical storm, maybe a hurricane, as it moves towards the west-northwest, but out to sea harmlessly away from any land areas for the time being. And the NavGem model, not predicting anything in particular, maybe a little bit of a system in the Eastern Pacific, but for the Atlantic, things remaining fairly quiet. It seems fairly unanimous at the moment as to all models remaining quiet in the Atlantic, at least after what's left of Dorian passes away. The GFDR model takes what's left of Dorian through the Bahamas and then into Cuba as a very weak system, and possibly another system forming in the Eastern Pacific. Same with the HWRF, but that takes Dorian through the Florida Strait and perhaps surviving into the Gulf of Mexico as a very weak system, but probably nothing in terms of a tropical storm or anything like that. This is the static one, as you can see, all the models next to each other. Some of them predict it moving into Cuba, and then some into the Gulf of Mexico along the western coast of Florida. That would be interesting to see. Looking at the CMC model for the Western Pacific, very ambitious and a bit far-fetched, with 2 strong typhoons moving into China and then the Philippines, which would be very interesting to see that verify. Obviously quite a situation that would be. Far-fetched, but not out of the realms of possibility. The GFS model also predicts what is 91W at the moment, developing into a storm in the South China Sea and then moving into China eventually. It doesn't look like any movement on 92W moving into the Philippines and then dissipating by the looks of it. Looking at the overall predictor season scores then for July the 29th, no changes because no storms have intensified into hurricanes or no new storms have formed. So William remains in first place with 68 points, Ken in second with 67, and Hurricane in third place with 66 points. That's the top 3 at the moment, quite close to the top, as you can see. You can submit your own storm totals at the website force13.com/interactive. Just click the 2013 predictor season button and submit your submit what you think will happen. But I would hurry if I were you, because the points do go down in increments every 10 or 15 days. So and it's also dropping off a cliff at the moment because the skill level is going down rather quickly. It is July after all. So what happened on this day then? July the 29th, 1978, Hurricane Hector dissipated in the Eastern Pacific. In 1982, another Hector formed in the Eastern Pacific as well. In 1985, tropical storms Kevin and Linda formed in the Eastern Pacific. That's both of them are pictured there. And in 1991, tropical storm Phaefer formed in the Eastern Pacific as well on this day. A lot of Eastern Pacific action, as you can see. In 1996, tropical storm Caesar moved over Central America and became Douglas upon entering the Eastern Pacific from the Atlantic. Also that same year, tropical storm Joy formed in the Western Pacific. There it is pictured at its peak intensity. In 1998, tropical storm Estelle also formed in the Eastern Pacific. That one's also pictured at peak intensity, category 4 storm that one was. And in 2000, tropical storm Chanchu dissipated in the Western Pacific. In 2001, Toraji made landfall in Taiwan as a Category 3 typhoon with 200 fatalities and $245 million in damages. That one's pictured as well. In 2005, Tropical Storm Washi formed in the Western Pacific. Also that same year, Tropical Storm Franklin turned post-tropical in the Northern Atlantic. And in 2007, Tropical Storm Usagi formed in the Western Pacific. And in 2011, 2 years ago, Nok 10 made landfall in China as a tropical storm. So don't forget, you can track any storms that form at the website force13.com/storm tracking. There are currently perhaps 2 storms active, I suppose you could say. The remnants of Dorian still going and could redevelop. 50% chance on that one at the moment. Warnings in effect in Hawaii at the moment, so make sure you check the website in between videos to check up on the latest updates for the warning information, and indeed any warnings that will come into effect if Dorian regenerates into a tropical storm, because it is fairly close to land areas at the moment. So that's certainly something to watch over the next few days at least. We'll see what happens with that one. But that's the main site, force13.com/storm tracking. There you have the overview map which shows which storms are currently active, their intensities, and any warnings are in effect at a glance. And then you can go more in depth, basin by basin, to see what's going on the tracking maps and warnings in more detail. And you can visit the social pages as well, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Force 13 is on all 3 of those channels. Just search Force 13 on whichever site you're on, and you should find us fairly easily enough. Please do show your support by doing the usual engagement means, liking, subscribing, commenting, favouriting, and anything else that I usually forget. I usually do forget at least one of them, but there you have it. And I do very much appreciate any positive comments or any comments at all. that you may have, as long as they are not rude, I suppose. And don't forget, you can visit the new Storm discussion forum online at the website. It's been online for about a week now at force13.com. There's a forum button at the top which you can go through and discuss storms if you wish. That's what it's there for, I guess, and there's a lot to talk about in the meantime. The next bulletin will be coming up probably midnight UTC on Tuesday morning, July the 30th, with probably an update in between as well on Tropical Storm Flossie as it makes landfall or approaches Hawaii in the next 24 hours. There'll probably be an update in the middle of the day on Monday UTC. But that's all for now.